Hello and welcome to season 3 of Visiting Dugout, a Fans First Sports Network production. I am Crystal O'Keefe. Today I have Jackson Nelson on to chat about the Twins. Jackson, would you like to give your little brief introduction of who you are?
Sure. Yep. Like she said, Jackson Nelson, longtime Minnesota Twins fan, Minnesota sports fan, as you can see. On Bluesky, got connected with Crystal through there, so great community. But I've been watching the Twins basically since 2004, give or take. I was grew up in the Metrodome, so as any Twins fan knows, it's kind of like the golden age of our franchise. And then, kind of once we got to Target Field, those tickets got a little bit priced out, but been watching from afar on whatever network they've been on. They seem like they've been on three or four in the last few years, but um, begrudgingly just watching this team every year and hoping that they just don't completely destroy us internally.
I feel that
Yeah.
100%. So, what is new with the Twins this season?
It seems like a lot of new approaches and new coaching staffs, but the team itself really didn't change all too much. I mean, you lost a couple of the 1 year guys. The biggest, I would say, change this year is this is the first time in 10 years that the Twins haven't had Max Kepler at spring training. He joined the Phillies this year. So, we kind of, for a while, we had that young outfield of Eddie Rosario, Byron Buxton, and Max Kepler, and now Buxton's kind of just the elder statesman who is the last one left, and you kind of got to fill those spots somewhere else. So Harrison Bader was brought in, Ty France taking over at first base, but really it's a lot of the same of what you had last year. The Twins were really looking like the team to beat in the Central until about the last third of the season. They kind of fell off a cliff. So I think the team's just figured that they got the tools in house. It's just about the approach now. And, they're going a little bit more away from strictly analytics when it comes to their hitting approach, a little bit less of the all or nothing, leaning a little bit more into situational hitting. And I think that's what's going to ultimately help this team out in the long run is you really got to play the game that's in front of you and not the game that's on your Excel spreadsheet.
Yes, yes. So how would you rate the Twins off season? I know not a whole lot changed, but did you think they had a good off season in particular, or could it have been better?
Well, I mean, they addressed like the immediate needs. They really restructured their whole hitting coaching rotation, bringing in a guy that used to be with the team, Matt Borgschult, who was with the Baltimore Orioles last year. Obviously, if you watch the Orioles, they had a lot of young talent that really adjusted the MLB game incredibly quickly, quickly than damn near any team you really see that brings in that much youth all at once. So bringing in a guy that is again new, but also has a lot of familiarity with the team, I think that was probably the biggest move if you really think about it, for at least for this squad. And then, like I said, they're fixing up their approach a little bit. I would probably give their offseason like a 6 or a 7. Some might be a little bit more critical, but they really didn't make a whole lot of moves. But like I said, like they have the pieces in house. It just, you got 162 games to show the rest of the MLB who you are, and I think they're coming in with the right approach. They got great veterans who have been here for a while now. Carlos Correa really seems to be locked in with the team. Byron Buxton as well, like I said, and I think another guy that's really taken on that leadership role is Pablo Lopez. He's been he's been with the team for a little while now after the Luis Arias trade, and he's kind of shown everyone in the clubhouse that he's like the first guy in, last guy out, really working harder than everyone else. So it's good to have some other guys that are kind of on the higher end of your payroll also being the hardest workers. That's just a great example of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So how are you feeling heading into this new season with what you're working with essentially?
I'm feeling good. The AL Central, like it has been the last few years, seems like it's pretty wide open. It just what team is going to, I guess, put together a whole season.
Yeah.
It's really seems like it's. I mean, it's obviously not as simple, but it's really as simple as that. Is what team's really going to stake their claim as the number one team, and what's it going to take to make that happen? I mean, I think the Twins, if you really look at their roster top to bottom, they've got a really complete roster with players that you kind of know what you're going to get from them. Obviously, the back end of their bullpen is probably the best in the league, I would say, especially like, if you're really just looking 7, 8, 9. If you've got a guy like Louis Varland or Brock Stewart who have been looking really good once, or Varland especially once he's out of the bullpen, and then run the eighth and ninth with Griffin Jackson and Yohan Duran, like there's really not many teams that can compete with that. So all you really got to do is just make sure you're getting that early lead and kind of working towards the back end guys. But the Central is still tough, like it's always been. I mean, Detroit, Cleveland, Kansas City, and the White Sox are playing with house money. You gotta kind of think about that. Just because they might not be coming in with the best roster, you still got to play them over 10 times. Like they're not going to just roll over every single time. So you gotta play every game, especially in the Central, really hard. And I think if that's what they're doing, then I think there's gonna be a lot of success this season.
Yeah, of course. And I just briefly wanted to bring up Joe Ryan. He's one of my favorites. I
Oh yeah.
don't I mean, yes, I'm a White Sox fan, and by law, you're probably not allowed to like Twins players, but like I love Joe Ryan. How are you feeling about him in particular this season?
Well, the one thing that I think that's totally okay to admit about Joe Ryan is that he's just like a cool dude.
Mhm.
Like when you look at Joe Ryan, it's really what you see is what you get. He is himself 100% of the time. He is just yeah, he's just like the vibes guy. He
Yeah.
just seems like a dude that just like you want to listen to. Like you you want to be around. You want to go to a Grateful Dead concert with him. Like I certainly would. So I think he's another guy that he's one more year in the system. He's one more year in the majors. He's got a little bit more experience under his belt. And I think all it's going to do is just improve what he's working on. I think if you know anything about Joe Ryan's game is he is always analytical with his approach. he he's one of those guys that wants to know all the RPMs on his pitches. He wants to know how fast he's throwing on every single throw. He wants to know his vertical break, his horizontal break. He's kind of the hippie mad scientist, if you will, I guess, on this team. And he takes that little bit more of an approach of a not a modern starting pitcher where everyone's trying to throw 100. He's going to bring you lower 90s, but he's going to be painting and his stuff's going to move a lot. So I think Joe Ryan's going to be a great guy, and especially if he's your number 3 starter in your rotation, you're probably built for success.
Yeah. I know he was rehabbing a bit. So did his spring training look pretty good? I mean, did he look like he was more vintage Joe Ryan again?
No one really seems to look vintage in spring training. It feels like. I mean, especially with the pitching staff, they're all working on different things. But I think from what we saw from Joe Ryan is that just his approach is the same, and he just looks confident again. I think there's something that you kind of see towards the end of the year, and especially coming off the injury that he was off last year. I think he's just excited to be playing ball. Like you really got to realize that yes, this is a job for a lot of these dudes, but it's all rooted in the superb, supreme love of the game. And Joe Ryan's certainly one of those guys that has that. So just him being out there, you can tell he's smiling ear to ear. Teammates love having him around, and he certainly loves being there.
That's good. So your predictions for the American Central, because again, this is a division that almost anyone can win. And
Hmm.
sometimes it really just depends on who is hot
Yeah.
in that moment. So do you have any predictions for the AL Central race?
I'm assuming this is going to be one that's going to come down to September. I mean, I think that's what we're at least all hoping for. When it comes to who I think's probably going to win that, my mind's always going to go with my gut and what I know, and I want to say the Minnesota Twins. But I mean, I think if there's a team out there that's going to give them a trouble, I think it's going to be Cleveland again. I mean, they've really been the mainstays in the Central. It's really been Twins and Guardians for a while now,
Mhm.
and obviously with the youth that the Tigers have and the Royals have, you certainly can't count them out. I mean, any team that's trotting out an MVP candidate like Bobby Witt Jr., you really got to respect, and especially with the rotation that they have as well. That's something you really can't blow over, but it kind of comes down to the teams that have done it before, been there, done that, and it's the Twins and Guardians. I mean, Rocco Baldelli is one who's won the Central a few times. He's been one of the premier managers in the MLB since he's joined the Twins, but the Guardians, they still, I mean, Jose Ramirez is still coming through. They have Stephen Kwan, who has really kind of exploded onto the scene last season, who's a super fun player to watch on both sides of the ball. And like the Twins, they've got great bullpen and a good rotation. So they're teams that they're certainly built for success. And then obviously what you really got to worry about when it comes down to the season is what moves they make at the deadline and who stays
Mhm.
healthy through all 162.
Yeah. I'm personally kind of gunning for the Tigers right now. I feel like they can't be
Well,
discounted
they're
with
a
the
fun
starting
team. Like
rotation. Yeah. They are gonna be really interesting to watch in my opinion. But I mean, I do kind of agree. It typically comes down to either the Twins or Guardians, just kinda. Again, depends on where we're sitting at.
I mean, the tide can change. This can be the year where all that changes. So
Yeah.
that's the great thing about the Central is that it really can be anyone's division. I mean, baseball, it's not always about like bringing out the best team. Like, yeah, if you look on paper, the Dodgers, you could maybe hand them the Commissioner's Trophy right now, but that's just not the way the game works. It's what team gets hot. Every team can come out of nowhere. I mean, when the Mariners won like 118 games or whatever back when Ichiro's first year, no one really expected them to even compete in the West, and they ended up being the best team in the MLB. So it really is just you have to play the games. That's what's so awesome about baseball, and I think that's why you and I love it so much.
Yeah. Well, see, and that's the exact reason why I love Small Ball and why I love the movie Moneyball is my favorite baseball movie of all time. That is why I love Small Ball, because you're going to see, like, I mean, nobody expected the Diamondbacks a couple years back to be anywhere
Mhm.
near playoffs in general, and then
Right.
boom, they're right up there playing the Rangers. It was wild. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I love about the sport. It's that whole, how can you not be romantic about baseball when a team like the Diamondbacks are in the playoffs?
Exactly. I mean, it's March right now. If you don't think you got a chance in March, like I think every team's really coming into the season like, yeah, we got a chance to go. And that's every year. It might not be the case in the NBA or the NFL at the first week of the season. Like you kind of know your place, but in baseball, it really is. Like there's the reason there's so many games and why we love that is that it gives everyone that chance. You just got to get hot.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we're going to take a very quick break to pay bills, and we will be right back. Okay, welcome back. So, we're going to break down this series with the Twins. Right now, as we're recording, it's the probable pitchers aren't really completed right now, only for the White Sox. It says Martin Perez and Shane Smith. So, not even all three games are listed. Do you have any insight of who we might see pitching for this series?
Well, we probably see some of our back end guys because remind me the day that series starts now.
So
It's
that series starts on Monday, March 31st.
okay. So we'll probably be seeing Bailey Ober going tonight for the this afternoon for the Twins, and then Joe Ryan. So we'll probably be seeing Simeon Woods Richardson, Chris Paddock. Those are our 4 and 5. So kind of a younger pitcher in Simeon Woods Richardson. This is looking to be like his first really complete year with the major league club. And then Chris Paddock, kind of the old West gunslinger coming out the back in the rotation, who is a little bit of a change of pace for this rotation. You know, he's our hardest throwing starter, but he's our fifth starter. So his endurance isn't quite there with the rest of the guys yet. I don't think, especially with the way he's kind of coming through spring training. He's another one of those guys coming off an injury from last season. So we'll see what we got there. But then you'll end up seeing Pablo Lopez as well, who's one of the best pitchers in the game. So like it or not, he's gonna be showing up.
It's all right. We can deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the White Sox, obviously Martin Perez been there, done that. We are all familiar with him, but yeah, you get
Really.
Shane Smith, who's very new,
Yeah.
very green right now. So we'll see how that goes down.
I mean,
I
another guy who had a great spring, Shane Smith.
Yeah, he did. I admittedly watched and listened to a few of his games, and he looks great on paper. So we'll
Yeah.
see how that actually translates when you're finally in, the major leagues. But it's exciting to watch these young guys. That's all the White Sox have right now. It's like Martin Perez and some young dudes that you barely know the names of.
I mean, can't wait for Hagen Smith to come up too. That's another guy who, I mean, if you watch him pitch in Arkansas, that dude is doors from the left side. I mean, he looked almost unhittable in his last year in college ball. So it's only a matter of time till he comes up and he's rivaling Tarek Skubal for the best lefty in the Central.
Yeah. So the White Sox did famously just lose 6 pitchers during spring training to Tommy John surgery. So we don't have a whole lot right now. So I wouldn't be surprised how quickly some of these kids come up this
I mean, you
season.
got to. Sometimes when you're running with a team that just doesn't seem like they have that top end talent, you just got to supplement that with youth and see what you got.
Yeah.
That's a fun part of the season. I mean, the Twins are in a kind of similar spot where they have a lot of guys that are established, but they also deal with a lot of injuries. So I think the Twins and White Sox, you're going to see a lot of really young players, hopefully making an impact early on. And I think that's what's fun for fans. Fans love seeing the young guys. I mean, for two teams that tend to be, I mean, the White Sox tend to be the underdog in their city, and the Twins are just underdogs by happenstance of being in Minnesota. We always seem like the underdogs. you really find those teams really like to enjoy rooting for those young cats. So I think it's gonna be really fun to see kind of the youth that the Central is gonna have coming up and what we're gonna see for the next decade.
Oh, absolutely. I know I'm very excited about Davis Martin. He's one of our
Mhm.
young guys. Really bummed out because Drew Thorpe was one of the guys who went down for Tommy John.
Yeah.
And I have been saying this for over a year now that he is the second coming of Dylan Cease. Like I'm ready. I'm ready for Drew Thorpe.
Yeah.
And then he gets injured. And I was like, well, okay, I'm done. Baseball's over this year
Baseball
already.
tends to be over pretty quick.
It's so dramatic in
It's
that.
almost the nature of pitching at this point. I mean, what team hasn't been dealing with these catastrophic injuries to their starting pitching staff, or even just any pitchers in general? I mean, with how much these guys are exerting their bodies, it's almost impossible to stay healthy for that long. But Drew Thorpe, like you said, is another one of those guys coming over from the Yankee system. Like he's going to be one of those premier pitchers for a long time. It just can you get him on the mound?
Yeah, and so I have my pitch clock theory with that's why these
Sure.
pitchers are going down. Do you have any reasoning behind all these pitching injuries aside from like obviously them just being premier athletes constantly putting their body through hell?
Well, I think the pitching clock has something to do with it just because when you change a game that's as old as baseball, it's kind of hard to adjust on the fly. I mean, this game is almost as old as the country that we're in right now. So you really got to think about making these big sweeping changes over time that Rob Manfred seems to be really intent on making in the last few years. That's going to be an adjustment, but you also got to think about where these guys are training and how they're trying to improve their game, and a lot of it is now just advanced physiology. You're trying to exert the most momentum you can at one time, work through the ball. You're all that's going to do is cause more stress to the elbow. All it's going to do is cause more stress to the shoulder. That the human body, I mean, throwing overhand isn't a natural motion anyway.
Yeah.
So the more you really try to test the limits of the human body, you're going to learn pretty quickly that there are limits, and you can, everyone's different obviously, but it's not a thing that the human body is really made for. So if you watch these guys go to drive line and train, they have these whole mechanisms that can show them every little inch of their body and moving and how to streamline that. But when you do that, you are overexerting your body to the point where you can only do that so much, and only a certain type of person can handle that without getting these season-ending injuries. And it almost seems like Tommy John's a rite of passage for pitchers now.
I
You
mean,
gotta just you
I'm
gotta
seeing
decide to give up a season at some point.
yeah, I'm seeing it in high school kids now. There
Mhm.
are kids in high school going for this
Oh
surgery.
yeah.
Sometimes it's more elective
Mhm.
because they think I've got a shot, I'm going to get a scholarship, so they're going in and getting it. Well, their bones are still. I mean, their
Well,
bodies
and that's a
are
new
developing.
trend. Like even like high schoolers getting Tommy John was pretty much unheard of a decade ago.
Yeah,
Now, like we said, with these kids, they're all just trying to go to these showcases and see like, oh, I'm touching 92 right now, and I'm 17, so I can get the a D1 offer. Like, yeah, that's great, but you got to think about your body isn't even fully grown, your brain isn't fully grown. Like, you got to realize what you're doing here. And I think the great coaches will weed themselves out, I guess, going forward, because we are kind of in the infancy of all this new technological advancements with pitching. You really
mhm,
gotta you don't know the long term effects until you have a long term sample size, and we frankly just don't yet. But the writing seems to be on the wall that it's really bad on these kids' elbows. It's really bad on these kids' shoulders, and you never should be having a 17-year-old coming into his freshman year of college already off of Tommy John.
yeah.
Seems like that could be a problem down the road.
We recently showed my teenage son Major League because
Great.
he was talking about how he wants to get into better shape, and we're like, well, baseball's not gonna get you in the best of shape. That's
Sure.
not the sport you play to be
No, 90
in
feet at a time.
no. And we were just kind of joking, and it was like pitchers famously are in like some of the worst shape at times. And so we're like, it's time that you watch Major League and see what it was like when mom was growing up
Yeah.
and what those pitchers looked like then, because they were not in the best shape. They were maybe throwing 90 and they were pitching, through 7, 8, sometimes 9 innings. Like this
Yeah.
is what it used to be. Now it's like you have to get it over 100. You have to be
Mhm.
the best. You have to just constantly sit these guys down. And it's just not your
It,
body can't do that.
the game's just completely different. I mean, with a game like we've kind of talked about how old baseball is, you'd think that there's only so much that can be changed and that the game has been refined as much as it already has been. But with science comes evolution, and the evolution that we're seeing is tends to be not great for the pitcher. And also, I mean, if you kind of even just look at the hitting side, the way people hit, it's a lot different.
Yeah.
It's not about going gap to gap. It's not about working counts. It's about launch angle, hitting it in the cheap seats, and I guess that's what team. I mean, when you really break it down from a runs perspective, yeah, that might get you point 0.2 more runs on average every game, but it's about when you're getting those runs. So sometimes you really got to remember that baseball is a game and you got to play the game the way it's meant to be played as opposed to treating it like a math problem.
Yeah. Just get on base. Just get on base.
Get on base.
That's what I always have told him. Just get on base.
Yeah. It's the best way to make your teammates love you is you just get on base.
Yeah. So moving into this series a little bit more, who do you think is the biggest threat on this Twins team right now for the White Sox?
I would say Matt Wallner. I think with the way that, again, this is another evolution in baseball is teams really like to put out a heavy power hitter hitting leadoff. I mean, the Phillies are kind of the catalyst for that, putting Kyle Schwarber in the leadoff spot. Like when Kyle Schwarber first came in the league, you would put him anywhere in the lineup other than first.
Yeah.
Not a leadoff. He hits 200 and it's 40 home runs a year. Like, when did that become a leadoff guy? But now you got to think about the approaches. Like we said, those guys walk a lot. Like, they're getting on base, and they could start off a game on a really high note because if you don't come ready to go from the first pitch, Waller's going to hit the ball 450 feet. I mean, that dude is an absolute monster. And, another guy that the Twins always seem to love, the guys from Minnesota. Matt Wallner's from Forest Lake. We're a little bit outside the Twin Cities, but that dude has incredible raw power that I don't think a lot of the teams, at least outside of the Central, know yet. I think obviously a lot of teams in the Central saw him last year, but in between his stints in AAA. But having a guy like that at the top of your order really makes the pitcher really work to get 27 outs.
So, what are the keys for the Twins to take this series?
I think they just got to really buy into what they're actually doing early in the season. And I think the keys would be the same for the White Sox too, is what have you been working on this spring? Will you implement that, or are you going to try to do your own thing? I think baseball is the greatest team game because if you really don't play with each other as much as it's really binary, it's one guy throws the ball to one guy. It's not going to all nine guys at once. There's not all moving parts, but it's a team game in the terms of philosophy. Are you trying to set the table for the guy behind you? Are you expecting the ball to come your way? What are you really focusing on? And I think the biggest key for the Twins now is just obviously, I mean, you want to get runners on early, get them in scoring position, and get them in. It's converting on those opportunities you have. And even in game one, the Twins had a couple good opportunities against Sonny Gray and the Cardinals, and they just weren't able to get that one big hit that they needed. So it's, I think, who's getting the first big hit first, and then kind of let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, of course. So, what about fears heading into this series with the White Sox? Obviously, the White Sox predictions not great for them, and because of when we're recording, they still have 2 games in this series with the Angels while we're recording. But they showed up for their first game. I was very pleasantly surprised to see what they did. So, with that, do you have any fears heading into the series that the Twins could just completely implode?
Oh, definitely. I mean, a team playing with house money should be the most dangerous thing to anyone in any sport. If a team feels like they really have nothing to lose, they're going to play like they have nothing to lose, and they're going to play free, fast, and loose. And sometimes that works out pretty poorly for some teams, but other teams that kind of works out really well. So, especially if you don't come to play, like, these guys are pros for a reason. Like, being a professional baseball player, there's only so many guys that get to do that every season or in their entire lives. If you show up and think that this is going to be sweet, I think the guys from the South Side are going to show you that it's not going to be that sweet. You can't just walk in and assume a sweep. That's just not how the sports work. So you really got to come to play every day. So I guess my biggest fear would just be who's coming to the ballpark and what's their mindset. Are they ready to go or are they not? It's really as simple as that.
For sure. I mean, the White Sox, they can be scrappy if they really want to be scrappy. Like I said, it was a very pleasant surprise watching them on opening day.
Yeah.
Was even my mother-in-law, she was like, I was excited. I was plugged into the whole game. And I was like, don't get too excited yet. But
You guys got to see Nicky Lopez pitch against you in opening day. I mean, what a treat.
I love Nicky Lopez
Yeah, of
too. I've
course.
always loved that kid. I don't know
Mhm.
why. I mean, it was kind of fun because there were a lot of, old friends on there with obviously Tim Anderson,
Yep.
who deservingly got a standing ovation for
Yeah.
his first at bat, and
Really
then
good to see. Really good to see that.
immediately struck out, but that's okay. And then, they had Yohan Moncada, Chucky Robinson was
Mhm.
briefly on the White Sox, and Nicky Lopez. Like, it was
Mhm.
just old friends all
Yeah.
over the place. It was kind of fun to watch that.
Yeah.
So, moving away from our respective teams, how are you feeling overall with what this season is going to bring? Like, this is kind of your hot takes or your predictions part of the episode, I suppose.
All right. Well, I mean, I think the hardest, or I mean, I found myself watching the Dodgers Tigers the last few games, and I think the Dodgers really are as good as everyone thinks they are. I mean, you have to get 27 guys out against them every single game and
Yeah.
score more than them. There's no let up in that lineup. So I would say the NL could wrap it up right now. That'll probably be my hottest take. Is that I don't see a team really competing with them. Obviously, I know Philly's another one of those teams that just got a lot of star power. They've got a lot of consistency, and they've shown that they're a team that can win in the playoffs. But man, I don't see a team that's got to have that kind of firepower to match up with the Dodgers. But when it comes to again the American League, I really think any team's got it. The team that came out of the American League last year, the Yankees, just lost their starter, their ace. So it kind of seems like the AL is back up for grabs, and I won't be surprised if the team that's in the World Series this year comes out of the AL Central.
Okay. Wow. That's pretty awesome, actually. Um,
I mean,
yeah.
you got teams that fight. Like at the
Yeah.
end of the day, it's like if everyone's playing on an equal playing field, it's what teams are gritty enough to go out and get it. Obviously, when you think of grit, you think of probably the Detroit Tigers. I mean, the gritty Tigers. Last year, we saw them kind of make a great run, and I think that's another thing that's not going to go away anytime soon. If you got four teams in the division that legitimately have a chance of winning, a few of those teams are going to end up making the playoffs one way or another, and they're going to be a tough out in 5 or 7 games.
And I mean, we saw it just last year. The Guardians got very close.
Yeah,
Very close. The Guardians, I think, are still going to be pretty good this year.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. It could come down to that. And that would be fun to see because I'm really so tired of the Yankees.
Oh, you're preaching to the choir here. Seriously.
But also, as someone who my second team is the Mets, I'm especially tired of the Yankees. But like, I'm tired of really big teams being the only ones that make it. I would love to see a team in the Midwest actually do something.
It's only been a matter of time, or I mean, really the last few times that a team from the Midwest has really made it or made noise in the playoffs, it's been Kansas City and it's been St. Louis. So it'll be nice to change that up a little bit, being able to see a team like the Twins or let's say the White Sox get hot. You never know. You never know. You're 1 game in. You still got 161 games left to tell the league who you are, and I would love to see something like that happen.
We'll
Why
see.
not?
We'll see. I have to cover most of those games, so I
Sure.
typically have a more negative approach towards this team right now, but that's okay. I still love them. It's like
At
that.
least one of us has got it.
It's the meme of the old man with the umbrella who's mad at the
100%.
wife. That's me with
Mhm.
the White Sox every day of
Yep.
my life.
Wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy.
No, I keep thinking like it could be worse, and I could be an A's fan, but at least the A's, like people maybe not the ownership, but people
Mhm.
respect the A's way more in Major League Baseball right now. So
Right. Well, I mean, that's kind of the thing is now that the A's moved a little bit. I think their reputation is a whole lot worse than I would say the White Sox would be. I mean, if I'm an A's fan living in Oakland, I'd be pretty upset. I don't know how I'd really feel like watching the team. At least the White Sox, they look like they might be going through another ownership change soon, like our Twins are. But it seems like that it's going to be someone who at least cares about winning.
mhm.
So that's kind of the unique thing was with Matt and Justin Ishbia. both kind of looking into buying the Twins and then pivoting back to their minority share with the White Sox because Jerry Reinsdorf might want to be out. I mean, have you heard much on that? I mean, it was such a bummer for us because we were so jacked up for Matt Ishbia because we saw that
Yeah.
he bought in with the Suns. It might not have worked out with the Suns, but we just want an ownership group that talks more about winning ball games than how their portfolio is performing.
So that rumor is picking up traction. That's for sure. Like, I will say that. And I'm trying to double check. So Jerry just turned 89 years old in February. He has very openly stated he does not want his sons to take ownership. One of his, children owns the Bulls, and well, I mean, Jerry owns the Bulls, but one of his kids runs the Bulls, and that
Right.
is a dumpster fire in itself anyway. So he claims he doesn't want his kids to take it over. His wife has recently passed. Like, I think that maybe it's going to finally trend in that direction. I mean, you can't take the White Sox to the grave with you, and if you're not going to pass it along to your family, then it's time to pass it
to someone,
a competent person. Jerry has not been competent in 20 years.
No.
So I think White Sox fans in general are kind of cautiously optimistic that it'll happen. And I mean,
but Ishbia would be someone you guys would want.
Yeah, I would be fine with it. I mean, it seems like he treats people with respect. Jerry, again, not someone that I think of as someone who cares about
it. Jerry loves Jerry.
Jerry only loves Jerry. Whereas, if we shift this direction, it seems like people in general, like fans, are going to get more appreciation. Front office hopefully will be gutted, and then fans would really appreciate it because that front office is just as much of a disaster as Jerry is. So it'll be interesting. And like I said, I'm very cautiously optimistic and a little hopeful that there are some kind of legs to that rumor, because I would love it.
Yeah.
Jerry has needed to go.
And youth at the ownership spot. I mean, with the way things have been going, it's an 89-year-old man's not gonna learn new tricks at this point. Mm-hmm. He is pretty set in what he does. He's very much loves talking about all the success that he really thinks that he made, as opposed to just being the benefactor. Mm-hmm. But I think that would be a pretty unique thing. I mean, with the way that, again, like the Ishbias really have gone to work with the Phoenix Suns, whether or not it's really led to success, the one thing is I know the fan experience is a lot better. Mm-hmm. He wants to make the games a little bit more affordable for people. And with the way billionaires are lately, not many guys out there that are like that. So it's good to hold on to those guys while you have them.
Yeah. I'm also just hoping that we have someone that wants to actually give out legitimate contracts.
Yeah.
Because Andrew Benintendi being the biggest contract the White Sox have ever provided for anyone is humiliating.
It's one of the biggest travesties in the game, especially with the talent that's come through the South Side in the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, and especially this season. It's rough this season. They're really desperate to get fans in attendance in general. Mm-hmm. And it's been 20 years since the World Series win, so they are just throwing any anniversary promo to the wall and seeing if it sticks at this point. Like, we're going to get people in because we, like, opening day, they gave out this, like, really nice blanket, but, like, all the promos are, like, 2005 related.
Yeah, how many times can you bring Scott Podsednik to the yard until it's like, all right, we got it?
And I mean, and Mark Burley is getting a statue on the concourse this year. So, I mean, that's exciting. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, but we need to move on.
We need to win now.
Actually win games.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
yeah, there's something to that. I mean, it's there's worse things in the world than having to celebrate a World Series, but if that's all you're doing, like, I mean, we've seen that here. In 2011, it was very similar, where we had kind of had a team where it's like, oh, what do we know about these 2011 Twins? But they really love bringing back all the guys from the '91 World Series. It's like, yeah, man, I love to see Gene Larkin come to the yard, but also, like, I would love to see a team that I don't get embarrassed telling people I'm a fan of.
Exactly. Well, I mean, towards the end of last season with this podcast, especially, like, I'm asking, what's the biggest threat? What are your fears? And I was like, I know you don't really have any fears. It's the White Sox. We're on pace to break a record losing streak. So it just kind of became a joke at the end of the season. So I'm hoping it doesn't have to be again this year, but Definitely
We're
time.
all anticipating. Yeah, there's a lot of anticipation with that for sure.
Oh, well, that is what I've got for you. Thank you so much for coming on. Please let people know where you are and help have more people gravitate to Bluesky on baseball Twitter because we need more.
For sure. Oh yeah. Well, I'll be there. Yeah, I'll be posting on Bluesky pretty much daily for Timberwolves and Twins content. So if you just want to hear my thoughts, I don't create a whole lot of picture stuff. I really just kind of tell it how I think. So hopefully at some point it'll kind of turn into more of a podcast form or something down the line. But I always tell it how it is, especially for Minnesota fans. So some people like that, some people don't. But I love that, and the Bluesky community has been great. Meeting people like Crystal, so the baseball community has been very good there. So yeah, I think there's a lot of growth, and with the way that platform's growing, I think there's going to be a lot of fun things to come.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, we will make sure to shout you out on Bluesky when this comes up. And again, thank you so much. Best of luck for this series.
You as well. Thank you, Crystal.
Thanks.